we have an interesting article that points to some perhaps uncomfortable or unfortunate realities of the Kansas City Chiefs roster building this season, but they are uncomfortable and unfortunate realities that are pervasive in the NFL. In an article titled Three Free Agent Players the Chiefs Could Sign to Prove It Deals, Kansas City GM Bret Veach loves to make prove it deals. Will he go back to the well this offseason? From Arrowhead Pride by Rocky Magana, we have an article outlining the very principle of how it is I believe the Kansas City Chiefs are likely to build many of the contributor roles on their team this season. This is not to say the starters, perhaps. This is not to say the long-term prospects, perhaps. But those players who are likely to get 10, 15 reps per game, and there are lots of those in the NFL. If you keep up with the snap counts, there are lots of those types of guys in the NFL, so the Kansas City Chiefs are going to have to sign quite a few of them because the cupboards are bare. Now, the article itself includes 3 players. I have included in this video just 2. The number 1 player is a very big name and someone that is very intriguing, but I did not have as much to contribute to that side of the argument, and I did not want to usurp the value from the article itself in my own way. So I think that it is imperative to go check out that article as it is written, but I wanted to highlight 2 of the players here. Now, the article starts off this way. The NFL's legal tampering period. Yes, legal tampering period. Why is it called that? I don't know. Why didn't they just call it something else? It seems like rules-based cheating. So I'm not sure exactly what they're trying to get accomplished with that name. Monday at 11 a.m. Arrowhead time. It marks the start of a frenetic and chaotic period, the first wave of free agency. And yes, I think that we are likely to see a deal on Monday, but I am not sure the caliber of that deal. I think it will be the deal that presents itself to Bret Veach that will solve some need immediately. I think he is likely to try to wrap up these deals one by one in systematic fashion, and the Kansas City Chiefs are going to be obviously a very attractive beacon for free agents, but also something worth considering. The Chiefs don't have a lot of money. The Chiefs don't have a lot of draft picks. The Chiefs do have quite a few question marks. What Bret Veach has done in the past, what he's been very good at doing in the past, is answering a question mark with both a free agent as well as a draft pick. So he will pair a veteran free agent that's usually mid to bottom market, sort of like, with a rookie and try to work on a hole on the roster in that way. I don't know if they're going to have the assets to be able to try to double team all of their holes this offseason. Every team will be doing its best to add talent before April's NFL draft. There will be blockbuster deals, etc. The kinds of prove-it deals are the bread and butter of the Kansas City Chiefs general manager Bret Veach. Sometimes these deals work out well, other times they don't. In 2022, Chiefs signed former Pittsburgh Steelers wide receiver Juju Smith-Schuster to a 1-year deal worth just a little over $1 million in salary cap. The wideout responded by gaining nearly 1,000 yards and helping Kansas City reach and win the Super Bowl. That is a winner. And then he uses Hollywood Brown to exemplify a lost, lose it, prove it deal last season, which is fair, I think, but still incomplete, right? So that is why Hollywood seems to be coming back for another season. With Kansas City, a prove-it deal gives a player a chance to earn a good-sized chunk of money as he rehabilitates his reputation. If he can earn a big contract with another team but does nothing else, he'll at least get to make it to a deep playoff run that might end with confetti and a Lombardi trophy. And one of the players listed here, defensive end Dre'Mont Jones. After losing his starting job for the Seattle Seahawks last season, and he's going to remind you of another Seattle Seahawks defensive end that did not quite work out so well for the Kansas City Chiefs. The writing was on the wall for Jones, but despite playing only part-time, he still proved he can be a capable pass rusher, logging 4 sacks in 2024. Just 28 years old, a fresh start could do him some good and help him return to the form he had earlier in his career with the Denver Broncos. Teams are always looking for pass rush help and willing to pay a premium for sacks. Now, it gets into a little bit of the numbers we're going to look at here, but one thing is correct. He could fit well into a Steve Spagnuolo defense. Why do I say that? 6'2" 3/4", so he's not the tallest guy. Spags likes tall defensive ends, but he's 281 pounds. He has 33 3/4 inch arms, but he ran a 5.12 40-yard dash. But he had a 1.77 10-yard split. But he had a 31.5-inch vertical. But he had a 9'2" broad jump. So this guy is kind of back and forth with the physical attributes. One makes him seem compelling, one makes him seem maybe not quite so much. So here's one thing I wanted to also stress here as we get ready to head into full-time draft mode. He was picked in the 3rd round, 71st overall. He was picked in the 3rd round, 71st overall, being a 6'3", sub-6'3" defensive end with a 5.12 40-yard dash and a 31-inch broad jump, or vertical jump. So, must have been that his college tape was outstanding. Well, he had 9.5 career sacks as a redshirt junior. 8.5 of them came in his redshirt junior year. So the reason I want to point this out is that we're going to get all lathered up about the players the Chiefs do or do not pick, about the way that some of these draft picks look in the underwear Olympics, the way that some of these draft picks looked on the field in college. Sometimes there is a very strange fusion of two things. Now, what I would imagine was the driving factor behind pick 71 in round 3 of the 2019 draft. I don't remember exactly this pick, right? But I would imagine what you're looking at is the fact that he went from 0 sacks to 1 sack to 8.5. You were looking at an emerging player. That was the driving force there. Just something to keep in mind. And this is what we have seen during his career here. 3.5 sacks as a rookie, 6.5, 5.5, 6.5, 4.5, 4. Reminds you a lot of Mike Danna, doesn't it? So Mike Danna was selected a little bit later than this. Mike Danna was a 4th rounder or a 5th rounder. I believe he was a 5th rounder, but I don't want to put any money on it. But those statistics look relatively close to the Mike Danna statistics. Mike Danna was actually, he did not have a pro day because of the illness, right? If you're familiar with YouTube struggles in saying those words, the illness that was going around prohibited Mike Danna from having a combine or a pro day, I believe, but he is said to have worked out privately, if I remember correctly, privately for a few schools and actually had good numbers, but he's on the shorter side, and he's not a guy, he's in this 250s. He's not 280, I don't think. So that's kind of a little bit of a difference between these two players as well. But as far as productivity is concerned, if you were to pick him up for $1 million, you're getting another Mike Danna. So that would be a positive. I'm not sure exactly what the rounding error is for a prove-it deal with a guy like this, but it would be interesting to add him to the mix. Then, offensive tackle Trent Brown. I'm not quite so smitten with Trent Brown being a prospective player for the Kansas City Chiefs, and we'll get into why. And it will seem, I think, like I'm being harsh, but the 31-year-old Brown has been around the block a few times, switching back and forth between right and left tackle pretty fluidly over his 10-year career. He has started over 1,000 snaps as a left tackle as recently as 2022. Listed at 6'8" and 370 pounds, he is a mountain of a man. But on the flip side, conditioning is a concern. So that just feels like a British sitcom joke, right? So plainly understated. In addition, his body could age faster due to his size. Well, I think it will. Still, Brown has consistently had a PFF pass blocking grade over 70 while playing left tackle. Spotrac currently has his market value at $1.2 million per year, so he could be brought in to compete for the left tackle job with a floor as a swing tackle. Now, here's my point of negativity. Under regular circumstances, would I support signing a player like Brown for $1.2 million on a one-year prove-it deal? Yes, absolutely, because he could emerge as the starting left tackle for an entire season. With the conditions as they stand, I don't think I'm as big a fan of it because I think the Kansas City Chiefs finally have to get some things hammered out here. And I'm not sure Brown is a much better player than any of the guys they have on the roster currently. So if he's not, then he just won't start. What's the big deal? Well, the big deal, in my opinion, is you're giving. So there's an old phrase from motivational speaking. It's about Cortez. Cortez came to the Americas, and his crew was going to revolt against him. They were going to kill him and sail back to Spain. And what did he do? He burned the boats. Now you can't go back. You need a leader, don't you? You can't go back. I think the Kansas City Chiefs, with their offensive line, are almost in a burn the boats scenario. The Kansas City Chiefs, in my opinion, are almost in a place where they have to maybe sacrifice a single season in order to get the offensive line figured out. And if they can't do it, all of a sudden they have a top 10 pick. Maybe not. I don't know that Patrick Mahomes will ever lose enough games to have a top 10 pick, but you understand what I'm saying. All of a sudden they have a top 10 pick and they can get a top 10 caliber left tackle. So part of me just wants to look, if he's going to come in and start, it means problems anyway. So figure it out. You've broken the three-peat possibility. So if you're going to win a Super Bowl, it's just the beginning of another run maybe, but it's not that important to see. Obviously, it's an important season. I don't mean to make it sound that way. But I think you understand where I'm going with this. At some point, this has to get hammered out, and it's difficult to do that selecting at 31 every year. If Brown is going to come in and be your starting left tackle, it means the problem's not solved. All you're doing is putting it off for another year. So I'm just sort of at a point of frustration. But looking at him physically, 6'8.5". The guy's almost 6'9" tall. Came into the league 355 pounds, has modestly gained 15 pounds since. 36-inch arms, 10 7/8" hands. Did run a 5.29 40. That is not ideal. With a 28-inch vertical, an 8'10" broad jump, not great numbers. 20 reps, also not a great number. But you're putting up 20 reps of 225 pounds on the bench press with 36-inch arms. That's decently impressive. So here's my talking point here. Here's my consternation. He played, I believe, 139 snaps last season, earned an overall PFF grade of 65.2, a pass blocking grade of 64.2, and a run blocking grade of 68.4. Not fantastic numbers, but certainly not the worst numbers you will ever see either. Wanya Morris last season had a 53.0 overall grade, 12.2 points worse, a 55.4 pass blocking grade, on the precipice of 10 points worse, and a 55.2 run blocking grade, 13-ish points worse. So, that's rough. The Wanya comparison is rough. Wanya was in his second season. Brown is in his 10th. Wanya played several snaps more. I think Wanya was in the 400s on the season versus 139, the law of large numbers, right? You're going to see a return to the median, the larger number of snaps that you play. So Wanya Morris had a much bigger opportunity to be exposed during the season than did Brown. I wouldn't be against it. I wouldn't be against it at $1.2 million. You're going to have to probably cut somebody else on your offensive line. Who do you want to cut? You're also probably going to be in position where you're going to draft at least one offensive lineman, which means you have to cut two of the names, likely have to cut two of the names that you currently have on the roster. I think when you have so many young names that do have promise, this becomes a much more daunting task in order to add a 31-year-old tackle who is plus-sized, who is mega-sized, and is... The Chiefs did not have great luck with injuries last season, right? Do we think this season will be better? And if so, why so? So I think that this would be... I would prefer Draymond Jones over Trent Brown. That said, I wouldn't be upset with either of them. That is all I have with this video. If you like or appreciate what it is that I do here, hitting the like button really does help me out, as it tells YouTube to share this video with other Kansas City Chiefs fans. If you find yourself here by chance but not design, Kansas City Chiefs, they're the only things I talk about on this channel, dropping multiple videos every single week, and I hope to have you back for the next one.